Okay, grade 10. Before we actually get into this, into the different stages of mitosis, we are going to look at the what we call the cell cycle. Okay, so I've already shown you when mitosis occurs, but let's just go back to the PowerPoint now. So what I'm doing is every time I change the PowerPoint, okay, I will put the new one up onto Google Classroom because I'm fiddling around with the slides, I move them a bit, I add something in when I see, that it's needed. Okay, so you will get everything. All right, so you've seen this diagram before, okay? This was to explain where mitosis occurs in the life cycle of a human. So we said that there are two types of cell division, and we don't really learn about meiosis in grade 10. And remember that meiosis takes place in the ovaries and the testes to produce egg and sperm. So they are haploid, only with one set of chromosomes. And then a sperm fertilizes an egg, and then you get a diploid zygote. And in the case of humans, there would be 46 chromosomes in this single cell, or 23 pairs. And then lots of mitosis occurs and lots of cell differentiation and tissues, organ systems, etc. get formed because the cells differentiate. Oh gosh, spelling mistake. And because of specialization, if they have a different shape or a different structure, therefore they'll have a different function. Like a muscle cell is long and thin and it contracts and relaxes, whereas a round blood cell is biconcave and it carries oxygen. All right. Now, I just wanted to put this in. So we learn about cell division, in other words, the formation of new cells to produce a fetus. And here you can see some of the sort of recognizable body parts of a fetus forming. You can see the limb buds, these little limb buds. There's the umbilical cord. Here's the little spine. There's the facial features. Now you start seeing an eye, little hand, etc. We all have a tail to begin with. And that gets, think of a lizard, the tail remains, and in us it actually gets absorbed, all right? Well, in most people, some people are born with a little tail still attached to the back of their vertebral column. And think of how the hand becomes, how that limb bud or paddle becomes separate fingers. So there's cell division, but there's also a process where cells it's called programmed cell death. So this is interest. It's called senescence. The cells senesce, they die to form the separate fingers. So a paddle-shaped hand, like over here, in order to form separate fingers, there was first mitosis to make the paddle-shaped structure, and then there's cell death or senescence to break down the cells and absorb those cellular molecules back into the little fetus, and they can be used elsewhere. So you end up with separate fingers. And the same with the tail. We do start off having a tail, all vertebrates do. Fish end up with a tail, lizards end up with a tail, etc. Tadpoles have a tail. But ours gets absorbed. So it was mitosis, cell differentiation to form that tail, and then it gets absorbed. So the cells die, they senesce and are absorbed into the body. So that's just something interesting. All right, now on page 53, they've got a little bit of information there about the cell cycle. So what happens during the life of a cell? And it's going to be different for every type of cell, which makes up all the different tissues. Okay, so if we look here, most of the life of the cell is spent in what we call interphase. Now, you heard this the other day. So interphase is when the cell's not dividing, when it's making more proteins, when it's making more cytoplasm because it's making proteins. It's making more organelles, it's doing what it needs to do. It's making keratin if it's a hair cell, hemoglobin if it's a red blood cell, antibody if it's a white blood cell, hormones if it's a gland, enzymes if it is a stomach lining cell or a salivary cell inside your cheek, inside your mouth, at least, salivary gland cell. Then when the cell prepares for cell division. Now most cells divide, but some do not. They used to think that nerve cells never divide. They now found that certain brain cells are able to divide. We know that the spindle-shaped muscle cells, which make up the voluntary muscles of our body, our flesh, those cells don't divide, but they grow bigger. They don't divide, all right, when you exercise or train. So some cells, then all the other cells divide, like when your bones grow and when we make more blood cells, etc., etc. Okay, every time the lining of our esophagus gets worn down all the time, so new cells have to form. This, the surface of your skin, etc. Okay, so these are the preparatory stages over here, the pink and the green. So the DNA is replicated, and then organelles are replicated, and so on and so on. So we don't really know what all of that means, just as long as we understand that the DNA has to replicate, the cell gets ready for actual cell division. Those stages of cell division, okay, so remember, when the cell's not dividing or when it's preparing for cell division is interphase. Then the cell actually goes through mitosis, the prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, and then the cytoplasm splits, and then you end up with two daughter cells, and they can go through their own cycle. All right. I just want to see it now. It looks like my power is going to go off, so I'm just going to go check that my computer is